Welcome to Already Won.
Well, I am a Man United fan, so I appreciate Ronaldo, but Messi is a genius.
Hello and welcome to Already Won, a Sports Friends podcast. I'm your host, the Wildcats, here with the Mad Dog, Kyle Apps. Kyle, come on in, Already Won. We're thriving.
We're here. We're thriving. We're green, people. Still green. It's about halfway through our season now.
Halfway through, yeah. I think it's our sixth guest. I think it is. So yeah, we're in, and I know this is coming out, right when the World Cup is starting. World Cup fever's here, and our guest today has released a gospel track, which is perfect. Yeah, he released a gospel track around who is the real GOAT, Messi or Ronaldo. So we're going to ask him around that, right? So got to keep listening for
Messi or Ronaldo. I mean, it's not Brady or Favre.
Not Montana. No, that's it. So we'll find out from him. But our guest this week, Mad Dog, is Jonny Reid. Okay. So Jonny Reid is the Director of Engagement at Oak Hill Theological College. So he works at a theological institution. So he's going to talk about, they've actually got a strapline called Make Time to Thrive. Hey, perfect. So we're going to find out a bit about that. And of course, we believe and so passionate about theological education, right? We've both obviously been trained. You guys call it seminary, right? Is that right, over in the States?
Oh, yeah.
That's it. We are obviously really passionate about that. But Jonny, before he was at Oak Hill Theological College, was at a really big sports ministry called Christians in Sport. And so he was head of communications, and he was also in charge of loads of resources through Christians in Sport. And he's also a co-author of one of the books that we've promoted on this podcast called The Spiritual Game Plan. And so great guy to have on. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But he's also got a master's in Christian ministry, and he's also an elder of an FIEC church in Bicester, Town Church in Bicester, and he's also married to Caroline, and they have 2 young children as well. So he's a sports fanatic, but it's sport and faith, Mad Dog, coming together. That's what we're going to talk about today.
It's the way to go. That's the way to go. I'm excited to have one of your own theologically minded people on the show.
Well, this guy's impacted me a lot, like in terms of all his writing and everything like that. So definitely, and he doesn't probably realize it, how many sports friends coaches, because we've also, the thinking that he's done has then formed others as well. So we're going to meet the guy behind a lot of the concepts and stuff that we spoke about in some of our training. So it's going to be a real privilege to really go through that as well. So looking forward to it, Mad Dog. We're going deep today. We're talking about deep roots. We're going deep. Ready to go deep?
I mean, this whole season's about deep. Let's just keep it going. Let's bring him in.
All right, guys. Please welcome the podcast this week. Very special guest. Please welcome Jonny Reid. Jonny Reedy, welcome to Already Won.
Thanks for having me.
We haven't put his nickname on the bottom, Carl. Yeah. So Carl can hopefully do a bit of magic on there, right? Have you got a new nickname in your role or no?
No, it's less of a nickname culture. Sports culture gives nicknames, doesn't it? But no, Reedy's fine in this context. Reedy or Jonny, both fine.
Maybe they just know you as the professor. Who knows? Well, I'm sure.
Wait. There you go.
There we go.
Definitely not that yet.
Not yet. Covered. Cool. Well, Jonny, first question. Our podcast is called Already Won. So the question is, what does that phrase mean to you, Already Won, when you see that?
I was in I was in a conference last week. Guy preaching on Ephesians, and it was so encouraging to be reminded that as his church, we are a victorious people. We meet Sunday by Sunday in this country, and we celebrate the victory we have in Christ. Not won by us, but won by him. And I thought that was really encouraging. I lead a church. Church life's complicated. There's lots of mess going on in people's lives. You're pastoring them. There's lots of mess going on in our lives. But ultimately, because we're in Christ, we're victorious. And that is deeply encouraging. And fundamentally what my identity is. I am victorious because of what Christ has done. And that helps me in so many ways. So, yeah, I think that's what it means for me.
So Ben told me there's something about Messi and Ronaldo. Like, are you team Messi, team Ronaldo? I mean, what's up with that?
Yeah, what's up with that? So I've written with a friend I think you've had on before. He is actually a doctor, Graham Daniels, Welsh charismatic man. We wrote a little tract. I've got a copy here. I'll wave it at the camera. So you got it there.
There we go.
Who is the real GOAT? And it's about 400 words, I want to say. It's very short. It's a little tract for people who can give out this World Cup coming up. You won't be surprised that the answer of who is the real GOAT is Jesus. But the way we framed it, so we've gone, that's a conversation in sport all the time, isn't it? Depending what your sport is. So basketball, is it Jordan? Is it LeBron? Is it Kobe? In football, in soccer? Yeah, at the moment, Messi and Ronaldo is the debate, isn't it? Now probably we're moving into a new generation, but that's the debate. I would very much be, I'm probably team Messi. I am a Man United fan, so I appreciate Ronaldo, but Messi is a genius. I'd rather watch him than Ronaldo, so I'd be team Messi.
I'm also team Messi. What are you, Kyle? Just out of interest.
Yeah, same way. I mean, Messi makes other people better, so Ronaldo can send people the wrong way.
There we go. Well, Cal and I could both endorse the track that you've done. Obviously, I've ordered some myself, going to give some out at a tournament coming up. And so, really good way of doing this. So how can people get their hands on that just so people can order it?
Yeah, so it's published by 10 of those. So if you're in the States, 10ofthose.com, I want to say. If you're in the UK, just type in 10 of those. Nobody types in web addresses anymore, do they? Go on to Google. Go 10 of those. And it's called Who is the Goat? Who is the Real Goat? You'll find it on there. You can buy it in packs of 50. My dad, one of my greatest supporters, accidentally bought, I think, 3,000 of these because he wanted to order like 35 copies of it and didn't realize it came in packs of 50. So massive box arrived at his house. So he's been giving them out left, right, and center as well. But
he will not be the only one. I nearly did that, and I was like, I have to ask someone. I said, "Do you read this as 50 or do you read this?" And I nearly ordered the same. So it's not just your dad.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, why not? Because then you can get more. But they're really tiny. Look how thin they are. Yeah. And they're really cheap. I think I don't know what the price. I think they're dirt cheap. I think for 50 you're looking at
£3. I think
less.
Yeah,
about £3 or something. So good thing just to hand out. Anyone who loves football this summer helps point to Jesus. Helps ask questions about why do we even have these debates about greatness? Why are we wired to admire greatness and admire people? So that's what I was trying to do.
Oh, that's great stuff. Good. Right. Excellent. Well, I know your now role is with Oak Hill Theological College, and you're now Director of Engagement. Am I right? So that's really good. Now, tell us a little bit about your role before. So you were Christian sport. Tell us just about that journey, how and the things that you did. You're obviously in Christian sport, and then you're in the role now with Oak Hill College. Talk us a little bit about that Christian sport days, and then how you came up. Like you said, we heard from Graham Daniels a little bit about the book. So tell us about how that all came together to write the Spiritual Game Plan book.
Loved sport all my life. Played it all my life. My parents were missionaries actually in India. So I grew up in India for at least my second part of my childhood. So I was in a school which talked about Jesus all the time. I was playing sport all the time, but hadn't ever really connected that together, worked out how my faith and my sport, or my faith, or really many aspects of my life really connected. And then we were actually back on furlough, on home assignment. I was 17. I Googled Sports Camp Scotland because I wanted a week where I wasn't traveling with my parents. And the Christians in Sports Plus camp came up and ended up going there. And that was the first time I'd ever heard of Christians in Sport, first time I connected with them since the early 2000s. And that was the first time I really heard how my sport and my faith could go together, how what whole life worship looked like, how God had wired me to play and made me in a way which I could worship him in the way I played, as I offered my sport to him, as I played it the way which honored him. And so that was revolutionary for me. So I was 17, went off to university, got involved in the Christians in Sport group while I was studying there. I studied Arabic and Islamic studies, played a lot of sport, got stuck in sharing Jesus with sports mates, doing the same with an Islamic society, spent a year in Egypt with Christians in Sport, actually, an equivalent of Christians in Sport, connecting sport and faith. And then, as we talked about, Graham Daniels persuaded me to come and do an internship with Christians in Sport. So I did that straight out of uni, bringing lots of those things together, chance to travel a little bit and share Jesus with people I met, chance to kind of just get some grounding on a theology of sport and how to teach that and train that. I had a kind of media film background, marketing background. And so I was doing bits of that for Christians in Sport as well, their website, blogs, videos, podcasts, all of that. And that internship basically became a job, which I did for 12 years. So 12 years kind of being involved around resources, communications, theology, social media, or anything kind of Christian sport was writing, speaking, films about. I had the privilege of being able to serve, getting those out to people so they could see that, working with brilliant team, people like Graham and others who have thought about this a lot, which then, as you said, led to the book, which you talked about, Graham, Spiritual Game Plan, Competing with Joy and Godliness. So that book came out last year. And it's relatively short. It was 150, 60 pages. You've talked about it before, but kind of was the culmination of a decade of training, honing the material of how do we really explain what does the Bible have to say about sport, and how can I apply that into my life. So it's a great joy working with Graham. So generally the way it works with Graham is we would chat, I'd listen to stuff. I would write, we'd refine a little bit. So got a co-author that with him, which was great fun. Trying to take some of his PhD material as well and make that accessible because it's some brilliant stuff there. And that led to, what we got out with Spiritual Game Plan, which is, about a year old now.
A decade of training, Carl, in one book.
We like our books. See Ben behind. I had a bookshelf too, but I had to move out of the room. Ben positions the books behind him, but he doesn't really read them.
Makes you look clever, doesn't it? You got your books behind you. I've got my golf clubs.
Yeah.
My books are over there. Books are that side, but.
Are you trying to pull it out, Ben, or are you trying to find
I'm trying to pull it out. It's on here somewhere, but no, we're just saying we've. There you go. There we go.
I don't normally have it on my desk, but I thought I didn't know if we were going to talk about it. So
there we go. Prove it's a real book. There you go. But
now in Spanish as well. There's a Spanish version.
There we go.
If you go on Amazon somewhere and somehow work out what Spiritual Game Plan is in Spanish, you might find it.
That's helpful because some of our South America guys can definitely have that, right? So there we go. Awesome.
We'll bring some down. The next question I have is there's a global debate. I mean, it's not just here in the US, maybe it's in England and the UK, but it's global as we travel around the world. As people, the pastors or leaders, should they take formal education, theological education, or should they just be self-educated, right? Let the Spirit train them, let that happen. So why do you have a strong belief that theological training is important for the church today even?
Why is it important for the church today? I think it's the church throughout history has always had training. So they'd be naive to say we don't need training. You can go back to the disciples. They spent 3 years in a very immersive environment being trained by Jesus. We see the early church getting training, expertise as well. So not just trying to learn ourselves, but learning with others, people who have spent deep time learning, studying. They're experts. They know what they're talking about. They can help guard from error, help us understand different debates and what goes on. I think there's a real wisdom of learning with others, a wisdom of learning from experts. I don't know about you, but in my early kind of 20s, when I first kind of caught the bug for reading and understanding, reflecting, you don't know anything. Like I knew nothing. I my church background, which was great, but I'd only been in one tradition. There was wisdom of kind of learning from others, reading church history, understanding doctrine, understanding the debates and discussions. I think it's just really important. As I said, I pastor a church as well. One of my roles as an elder of my church is to shepherd my flock and to guard the gospel, protect them from heresy. And so I need to know what is the gospel really clearly. What is the good news of Jesus? What does the Bible say? I need to know really clearly what is it not, and where have been some of the missteps in history to try and guard ourselves against it. So I think theology really matters. Whether you get that from a formal institution is a different conversation, and that will vary depending on where you are in the world and what access you've got and things like that. If you've got the privilege of being able to get some formal training and education and so accredited, then I'd be kind of going, why wouldn't you? If you're able to make that work, then you're teeing yourself up for a lifetime of ministry. That's not the end of your learning, but the study I've done and others have done, we kind of say it tees you up for a lifetime of continued learning. You kind of learn how to read, what to listen to, how to listen to, all the way back to your real basics. How do I understand what the Bible really says? So I'm not just misinterpreting scripture and just, well, it says that, so it must mean that. Well, it doesn't always do that. So yeah, I think training, education really, really matters. And I'm passionate about that happening across the church, but also particularly then in sports ministry, where my passion lies as well, of trying to make sure we're thinking about sport rightly, thinking about what God made, how it works, how we can honor him in that really well, because there's lots of stuff which has been done on that and we need to reflect on.
Definitely resonate with that in the early 20s and stuff, and then go into the college that you're now working at. It sounds stupid, but being taught how to read, and stuff, and history about what Christians have thought and wrestled with over like hundreds and thousands of years, but I had no idea about stuff. And then, like you say, all those tools, like understanding that world of theology and stuff like that, and different things, and learning with other people. So completely resonate with that. Now, you said something interesting just before we came on here about Oak Hill's kind of new strapline, which is around the theme of thriving. So I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about that, and then any advice you'd give someone who's thinking about theological education.
Yeah, I saw the question when you dropped it in about thriving, and I thought, have you been on our website? So make time to thrive is one of our straplines we use. So I've been in this role a couple of years. My job is basically to help students think about why they might want to come and study, whether with us or elsewhere, but trying to go, look, we think it's a good thing to do. These are the options we've got. And one of the ways we had some experts come in and help us think through what makes Oak Hill particularly distinctive, where I am involved. And one of them is we don't take shortcuts. We think it takes time to get your training. And so make time to thrive. You're going to have to make some sacrifices. We're not going to be able to make it short and quick in every area. We're not going to make it as cheap as others will be able to make it, potentially, because you've got access to all those lecturers and you've got the ability to be on site and things like that. And so we've kind of gone in a world where there is lots of really good options for kind of more online training, quicker training. I actually studied my sort of seminary equivalent studies in a kind of hybrid kind of online, non-online model, which was excellent. It served me really well whilst I was working with Christians in sport. I could do it on a day a week for 4 years. It was brilliant. But it's by nature of being a day a week for 4 years, that's less than if you're doing 5 days a week for 3 years, which is what our standard program would be. And so we just said, look, make time to thrive now in terms of your study, having the time to really focus on it. And even if that's doing it part-time, make sure you've got good time set aside to do that well. Make time to chat to other students, listen and reflect from them, to build deep friendships, which can last you for a lifetime. Time to knock on the door of lecturers who are experts in their fields. That takes time. Make time to sit with them and learn from them and have them curate how you learn. There's so much you can find online, which is brilliant, but how do we know what's actually good and what's not? So sit with people you can trust. And that just takes time. And so we said that's what we're going to encourage people to do. Take time to thrive now while you study, but then for the future of your ministry as well. There's a lot of really pretty harrowing stats around people burning out in ministry, people drifting from the gospel in ministry. And you can't draw them all back to people who've not been trained formally or things like that. But there's a lot of that where people who haven't been able to build their deep roots, they've not been able to kind of establish really clearly where they are in the gospel and what it is and how to keep growing in Christ, then it's harder to keep going. So it's contending for that building your house on the rock in that sense, and that takes time. Takes time to build a house well. That's kind of using Jesus' analogy. Pretty quick when you build a sandcastle. It's pretty hard to build a house. I've not built a house, but it takes a bit of time. So yeah, that's what we contend for. Make time to thrive. We're passionate about it. We want to really champion other training which is going on, which is brilliant. But go look, if you can take the time, if you can find the space wherever you are in the world to get depth, then do. It will serve you really well for your ministry and the people you're going to minister with.
It's great. I think you're having the foundation or the experience of both sport and theology. So if you're in, most of our audience is around the globe and they're into that sports ministry. So what does it look like for an everyday Christian or those who are in sports, like the athletes, the coaches, sports ministry leaders, to truly thrive in their life?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's one of my encouragements would be a lot of you'll be part of brilliant sports ministries like Sports Friends, and you'll be getting great training through you guys, which is excellent. I'd probably be counseling, don't do all your training there. Your local church is the hub of where I'm out of different contexts. I'm aware of that. I sit in the UK. The church is different to how it might be around the world in different places. But ideally, your local church is the foundation of where you get your discipleship. It's the foundation of where mission is driven from. don't be so narrow just on sport. Within the Bible speaks about all of life, and thus it does speak about sport, but the Bible doesn't just speak about sport. And so watching your whole life and your whole doctrine, as Paul would say to Timothy, do that closely, persevere in them, because he says if you do, it will save both yourself and your hearers. So watching your whole life and your whole doctrine means getting training where you can from your local church, but then from training institutions, wherever you might be. There'll be ones connected maybe with your denomination, there'll be ones in your country. So if you're able to access those, I'd go, that's a wonderful resource to make use of. Otherwise, ask wise people older than you. You kind of get to Titus 2, don't you? The pattern of Titus 2 is the older disciple the younger look to the older and go, help me. And so speak to older people and go, hey, can you train me? Can you mentor me? Can you advise some books I might want to read? Can you help me understand these things I'm grappling with? So kind of both those formal structures, but those informal structures are really important.
So good advice. Really, really good. Definitely. I think all of our coaches who are part of Sports Friends, would say, they're all part of the local church, but where they can, like you say, to get that training through their denomination. And that's what we always try and make sure we do as well. But that whole life thing, Carl, one of Carl's biggest things is whole life discipleship, right, Carl? So you hear that. It's music to your ears, right? Around what's your whole life doctrine, right? Join that on Mad Dog.
I mean, so the whole thing, like Luke 2:52 is like as one of my pivotal verses where Jesus grew in wisdom and strength, favor with God, favor with man. That's how he was seen as a 13-year-old. But that's how we want to see our children that we're coaching, we're leading, and as we tell our leaders, develop the whole child, develop them,
and sit under the well of wonderful teaching and training and mentors and people. I think it's one of those where we don't all need to know every answer to every question. Other people have done the thinking for us. And so sometimes it's just trying to go, where do I find my information and getting advice on that? My job is to watch my life. It's not to answer all those deep questions. Do that here, my local church first and then outwards.
It's a great practical advice there with a mentor. So good. Really, really good. Brilliant. Now, you mentioned obviously about deep roots, and that is something that I listen to, obviously, after moving away, studying at college, and then being able to access some of this stuff. So I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about that. There's a podcast for O'Kill, maybe some people would be interested about, but also, obviously, you're a writer as well. You've written the book, Spiritual Game Plan, but you also have a Substack as well. So I wondered if you could just tell the listeners a little bit about that, because I think there's some practical things maybe people could track with to help them thrive beyond that as well.
That's great. Yeah. So, as I said, starting where you started first with Oak Hill, we've got a podcast which I'm in the process of reviewing how we'll use it, but it's got probably 30, 40 good interviews on there on different topics, experts speaking about different things. So that'd be worth looking at. It's called Deep Roots, Oak Hill College. You're able to find that there. The other option is we do have a number of short courses which anyone around the world can access. Most of them, nearly all of them, I think, are online, available. Different topics all the time, so they come out every once in a while. So you'll be able to see those on our website, sign up for a newsletter, and they'll look at different things. So we've got one coming up just now, actually, all around children's, youth, and families ministry, which won't be focused on sport, but will be focused on a lot of what a coach is doing, and the kind of theology around that and best practice there. So if you're really inclined that way, you may want to look at some of those things. But yeah, in terms of then more specifically around sport, connecting sport and faith, I have a Substack. It's called More Than Sport.
It's at More Than Sport, substack.com. Yep.
Great. There you go. If you go on to substack.com, morethansport.substack.com. And generally any writing or reflecting I'm doing on sport and faith, sometimes it'll be published elsewhere. So I write for Christians in Sport still quite a lot, write for some other places. But normally I manage to get it published on there as well. So it's probably about once a month. There might be some little thinking or thought around how sport and faith connect, reflecting on what's going on kind of in the big picture world of sports, but also then what it looks like for practitioners on the ground. So generally the advice goes, if you need to think about something, write about it. And so it forces me to think about things and try and get some shape and order. So yeah, feel free to subscribe to that. There's different things on there.
Well, I would say for us at Sports Friends, we're grateful for the things that you have taken the time to write down, because there's many of our trained coaches around the world who've had a chance to be formed by some of the thinking that you did at Christian Sport, in the book and stuff, and then some of the resources as well. Obviously, over the years, we've been able to translate some of the things as well in different languages as well. So us at Sports Friends are so grateful for all that as well. And yeah, I really resonate with that. Just making time to thrive. I think the whole thing he talks about there, making time to be with a mentor, making time to learn in community. And I'm so grateful. I took 4 years out, and it was at the time, it was really hard. 2 years part-time, 2 years full-time. But, you know, you talk about the tea and teeing it up and stuff. And yeah, looking back, I'm pleased. Sometimes I feel like I'm in the woods, but you know what? I can come back and actually, me and Carl are often in the woods, aren't we, Carl? We play golf. But I'm grateful for
Ben likes the beaches more than the woods. I like the woods. Ben goes in the beach.
Yeah, that's it. But no, we're grateful for that, Johnny. So thank you so much. And yeah, keep going, making time to thrive for others and keep taking others into those deep roots as well. So thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it.
That's my joy. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my dog, making time to thrive. What a strap line, hey? What a strap line.
Time to thrive. Yeah.
That was Oak Hills Theological College's strap line. So good that he's put it. How about that quote? Teeing people up for a lifetime of ministry. What a quote, eh? We love being teed up, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is our strength too as sports friends, right? We're trying to train coaches, leaders to use the tool, but also be theologically based, whether it's at a seminary, whether it's through the level 1, 2, and 3 training of sports friends or wherever, you know, it's and local church is vital to it. And I think that's where we're at with discipling and building leaders up.
Yeah, for sure. One of the biggest things that came across to me was he talked about like the depth, you know, you taking time out to go and be trained, you know, the depth of training and teaching and stuff. And obviously having been there for 4 years at the college that he works at, that depth thing is something that, yeah, it really resonates. And hanging out with experts, learning with others, having a mentor, you know, all this kind of stuff, getting training, not just through sports friends, but through your local church, through your denomination, I think was really, really good advice for how to thrive for individuals as well. So, yeah, have a mentor, right? We've had your mentor on this podcast. So, good.
And he did specifically say, ask those that are older than you. So, you know, the wisdom of the gray beard.
Yeah, that's it. Gray beard all the way, for sure. Yeah, no, really good. Well, like you said there, within Sports Friends, you know, we believe so much in the local church, right? And if you follow some of Johnny's stuff, he also does. And so, yeah, he's kind of really banging that drum to make sure you get good training for your local church and make sure that the local church is central to sports ministry as well. So, yeah, that's what we want to do, right? Within Sports Friends, like you said, our next level of training, level 3, is going to focus on that, right? And go through some of that stuff.
Yeah. Church at the center and how we impact our communities, right? As Christians, we're founded in a local church. How do we reach out into those communities, those schools, those institutions, those places of work or residences? So how do we as a church impact others?
Yeah, really good. So maybe some of you heard that and thought, hey, I want to give some of those short courses a go. Have a look, give on Google, give Oak Hill College a Google, and I'm sure you'll find some different things as well. Or you can find this book, Spiritual Game Plan, or that tract he's speaking about, Who is the Real Goat? Who's the real goat, Mad Dog?
10ofthose.com. 10 the number of those.com. Get you and then look for the GOAT track, Jonny Reid. I think the book's over there too, but then also Substack. If you want to read, just catch up on some of Johnny's thoughts at Substack at More Than Sport.
There we go. Love it. Mad Dog. Great episode. We've made time to thrive, but what have people got to do to finish?
Well, I mean, we keep telling people, but they got to tell their friends, and those friends have got to tell others. But, you know, we got parents too. We got parents, friends. I mean, just tell everyone. We're thriving here. We are thriving here.
Already won. Our mission is to help you thrive. Every Tuesday, join our hosts and guests. Discover how you're already positioned to win.